Welcome to the Daily Dizzle for Wednesday, January 27th, 2011. It is I, Tommy Dizzlemits, as always. We do thank you guys for joining us. Might be a little bit of a slow day since the Oscars were nominated yesterday and not too much coming out in the way of news today, but we do have a few things that we haven't covered yet from the TV and movie side of things to get to you today for today's brief update. So let's not waste any time, jump right into the movie news. Starting with the movie news on the Captain America front of things. Whenever you do have a superhero movie that comes out that is slightly patriotic, like Captain America is probably the shining example. Patriotism at its max. That's what he was created for, to, be like, rah, rah, America, superhero, rah, rah. So anytime you have something that's very, very specific to a region in like a movie title or a description, you're not always going to see that title transferring over. That is why Captain America, the First Avenger, is only going to be referred to as the First Avenger in some of its major territories. The three key ones being Russia, Ukraine, and South Korea, based off the fact that, they probably don't like America all that much, and having America tattooed right in your movie probably will chip off a little bit of the business that you could have done instead of just being like, ooh, the First Avenger! That means he's the first superhero, maybe, possibly, could be. So, it'll be interesting to see how that decision works out. Obviously, America doesn't even realize that the titles get changed of their movies half the time, so at least it'll make some money in America, but we'll see if the brand management of trying to, sneak America into other people's countries without the American name will still get it some kind of positive vibe to it. Meanwhile, The Hangover 2 is going to be arguably one of the craziest, biggest blockbuster comedy sequels of all time. It's kind of different from the first one where, at least a couple months before the first movie came out, we already had a trailer, we already knew that we were going to expect some crazy stuff. This one's kind of going the opposite because everyone knows The Hangover and it's almost its own brand as of now. They haven't really said anything. We know it's shooting. There's been like one or two pictures revealed. You've heard the news of the stunt driver going to a coma because of some of the stunts being too crazy and him ended up crashing a car. On top of that, though, there isn't even a trailer out, which is kind of weird considering it comes out this summer. But it seems like it's a very intentional choice because Ed Helms, in an interview, one of the brief things that he mentioned that definitely makes sense when you look at the whole bigger picture of how crazy this movie is going to be, he pretty much refers to Hangover 2 as the comedy version of Apocalypse Now. Always on the edge of total chaos, shooting in places we felt genuinely unsafe. I don't know about anyone else, but that really, honestly, it seems like that couldn't be any better for a comedy movie. Especially with someone like Ed Helms. If you take anyone like Ed Helms, Steve Carell, anyone who came out of The Daily Show, they have been conditioned to know that if you get thrown into a realistic situation that's not necessarily the safest realistic situation, that's where the best comedy can be mined from. So if they're going to places that are legitimately unsafe, that means that they're not only having to rely on their acting abilities, but their improv ability of, okay guys, keep staying and hopefully we'll stay alive here. But just hearing that from Ed Helms, one of the most experienced of The Daily Show with going out, being able to make an ass out of himself in the most awkward and potentially dangerous situations ever, and coming out unscathed, I can only think of the crazy things that are going to happen in The Hangover 2 with him. Now, to round out the movie news today, if you're talking about that Apocalypse Now, go in there and get it done style filmmaking that hasn't been seen incredibly often since the 80s, since there were a lot of those filmmakers willing to take that risk. There's one filmmaker you had to put in that category of being able to give that crazy approach to a film and make that translate to a small screen or big. It'd have to be Sam Raimi. I mean, him and Bruce Campbell and whoever else they could get together would often go into the woods for whatever Evil Dead movie they were making at that time, and would just kind of go up there and chill and just get through it. And injuries would happen. There would be unbearable weather conditions, and they would still make some of the best horror movies. And that's why it should be no surprise after all the years of rumors of remakes, Sam Raimi is still pursuing a remake of the Evil Dead franchise. His longtime producing partner, Rob Tapper, has said that he's very interested in it. We'll bring the exact quote from the article about it is possible to remake it. They're looking at a script this month. What's interesting about Evil Dead is very few people saw it in the format that they made it for, the theater. His exact quote is, "I think Sam wants to embrace the ultimate experience in grueling terror and see it remade for a proper theatrical experience." Honestly, I don't think that's a terrible idea at all. Anyone who watches Evil Dead movies at home knows there's obviously a little something missing. You know, the cheesy effects come off a little bit more cheesy and a little less effective. But still, you know, watch a movie like Hostel, which was pretty much the like theater movie, horror movie of my high school generation almost. That was one that the week after it came out, you'd hear everyone talking about it in school. Oh my God, they showed this and this and this. And then even a week or two later, if you're going to see it, you know, you still couldn't help but be like, oh my God, am I about to witness this? Am I about to witness this? But if they get someone, you know, give it to Eli Roth. Give it to someone along those lines who's proven himself as a horror director. And even if they don't have necessarily the greatest story-driven horror movies, if they have the ones that are blood and gore-driven, like Cabin Fever or anything like that, give them a shot and see what they can do in trying to torture the audience, because that's essentially what the original Evil Dead movies were about. There's a lot of filmmakers nowadays who have run with that and broken the mold even more so than it already was by Sam Raimi. At this point, it's really just an issue of why the hell is it taking so long to get one of these guys on board when you know that there's plenty of talented individuals out there who could easily pull off a modern-day version of this movie that is not only comparable, maybe even better than the original. That does it on the movie side of things. Now we're going to jump right into the TV news. And our first bit of news is, seems like it's very conveniently timed. For weeks we've been talking about The Raven, which is going to be the John Cusack starring movie with him and as Edgar Allan Poe on the last couple weeks of his life, trying to hunt down a killer. Meanwhile, on ABC, Warner Brothers Pictures has just been commissioned to make a show, Poe, which is described as a crime procedural that follows Edgar Allan Poe as the world's first detective using unconventional methods to investigate dark mysteries in 19th century Boston. Kind of weird that they start getting a show ready that's probably going to be out either before or after, or right around the time that that movie's going to be out. But once again, that's what you have to be about in Hollywood. You have to be up on what's going on other places that you can pretty much rip off their idea and get to it first and screw them over. So congratulations, Warner Brothers, on that one. As if doing the Sherlock Holmes movies weren't enough, now you're just going to take the concept of Sherlock Holmes and stick a different dude in it and call it something original, despite the fact that you know that there's that other project of John Cusack's that was hanging around for a while. Maybe Warner Brothers is out to screw John Cusack. Who knows? Meanwhile, on the Wonder Woman remake that's going to NBC on the other network, it looks like at this point that Mick G, you know, the guy who wants to do the Ouija board movie, the one who did Terminator Salvation and the Charlie's Angels movies, apparently he's the favorite to direct the pilot. Kind of seems like a questionable logic, though, I guess. It seems like Wonder Woman, the action, the female action part of it, seems like something that he's used to, at least with Charlie's Angels, so maybe he won't be able to do the worst job in the world for it. Though I really think if you're going to have something that's produced by David E. Kelly, you should definitely give it to someone a little bit more qualified than McG. Just because you made a bunch of big budget exploding action movies does not mean you are necessarily qualified for the job. So our last piece of news today comes to us from the Jersey Shore. First, before we get into the big part of it, there's a little context to this. America likes to remake a lot of shows. We wouldn't have Steve Carell in The Office if it weren't for Ricky Gervais originally creating it. Even more recently, you have shows like the sci-fi show Being Human, MTV Skins, a lot of shows that started out in England and then made their way over here. Now, apparently the tide is going to turn on us because the British are going to steal the Jersey Shore and make their own Geordie Shore. Newcastle-based spin-off. Essentially, they're saying, well, it's warm in Jersey, and they walk around like that all the time, and it's warm here in Geordie, so why don't we do that? So, congrats to the British. They're finally learning that you don't have to come up with original ideas. You just need to steal someone else's original idea, and then you can probably cash in even more so than the people have cashed in off of your spin-offs over the years. So, but that's not the big news that we were getting to about the Jersey Shore. Of course, they've been to Jersey, they went to Miami, went back to Jersey. Now, they're going to be going to the Homeland. So you can definitely expect Snooki, Situation, JWoww, DJ Pauly D, and any of the other ones who decide to go take the trip across the sea to get a free vacation out of things and get to tear up the Homeland a little bit. Really, like, if you thought the show was ridiculous already with just the Guido juice heads going crazy, imagine the Guido juice heads being in the middle of a fucking country of Guido juice heads. It's gonna be hilarious. Though I really, really, really hope that just people in Italy start getting pissed off at them. Because imagine that. Imagine if the Jersey Shore has to fight their way out of the Homeland from the inside out. Seems like a good, like, Survivor knockoff that they should do, so that is all the news we have today. Unfortunately, we had to be the ones to bring you the fact that Jersey can't even be contained to North America anymore. Sorry, guys. But we do thank you guys for joining us, as always. If this is your first time checking out the Daily Dizzle, we do Monday through Friday updates in addition to a weekend update. You can check them out on our YouTube channel by either clicking the username Dizzlemits or going to youtube.com/Dizzlemits. On top of the Daily Dizzle, you can also see some of the other original music video highlights that we've done for movies like Ghostbusters, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Beetlejuice, Freddy vs. Jason, anything John Cusack's done, and many others. So if you haven't seen the channel before, go ahead and check it out. You're bound to be able to kill some time. So as always, we do thank you guys for joining us on the Daily Dizzle. I'm Tommy Dizzlemits. We will see you on Thursday.